Welcome to the JCPS MTSS training on the Modes of Instruction and Student Practice Toolkit with a focus on the use of instructional time. I'm Amy Downs, MTSS Engagement Resource Teacher with Elementary Zone 2.
I'm April Bemker, MTSS Engagement Resource Teacher with the AIS Zone, working with middle and high schools.
Please take a moment to type the case-sensitive bit.ly into your web browser. This will allow you access to all the links for activities offered throughout this presentation. Here you will see the 6 components that make up the MTSS department or multi-tiered systems of support. MTSS focuses on overall school improvement by aligning resources and support for both teachers and students. We provide multiple levels of support for learners that address academic, social, emotional, and behavioral needs, and produce professional development that is aligned with schools and the district as a whole. This concept map shows the departments within MTSS. MTSS Academics is directed by Donna Lawson. It supports schools by ensuring teachers are providing all students with academic supports, with a focus on Tier 2 and Tier 3 interventions and supports. The MTSS Behavior Department is directed by Sandra Hensel, and it supports schools in implementing school-wide behavior systems and frameworks, including Positive Behavior Interventions and Supports, or PBIS, and the Behavior Support Systems Model, which is an alignment of PBIS and restorative practices. Our department is the MTSS Engagement Department, directed by Dr. Naomi Brahim. The goal of the MTSS Engagement Department is to increase student achievement by equipping teachers with high-yield pedagogical practices to maximize student engagement. 6 MTSS toolkits were created to provide resources for Tier 1 instructional practices to increase student engagement, reduce student behaviors, and to decrease disproportionality. Here are the 6 MTSS toolkits. By clicking the toolkit image, you will access the MTSS department webpage and each of the toolkits. The Modes of Instructions and Modes of Student Practice Toolkit is focused on the manner in which teachers provide the components of instruction. It is divided into 2 sections that includes the modes in which teachers deliver instructions to students during the body of a lesson and the modes in which teachers facilitate student practice in authentic ways. To be clear, teacher modes of instructions must occur prior to practice, as the intent is the teacher sets the students up for success with more authentic and independent activities. The high-yield practices in this toolkit will equip teachers with the tools they need to be well-versed and fluent in both these areas so that their students achieve at high levels. Today, we are going to focus on one area of instructional organization that is critical to the success of any mode of instruction or mode of student practice you are going to be using, and that is instructional time. In today's training, we will discuss and analyze how to pace instructional time and maximize student engagement and learning, and provide you with opportunities to reflect and determine where to use these pacing strategies in your teaching craft. Take a look at this slide. When looking at the levels of student engagement, we often have students who fall in the ritual compliance or strategic compliance levels. They pay attention to some or most of the time, but they tend to not be fully committed to or engaged in lesson. Through the use of high-yield instructional practices like the ones included in the MTSS toolkits and strategically organizing your use of instructional time in ways we will discuss in this training, you can pace your lessons to get students to the highest levels of engagement. So our primary focus for today is to explore this question. How do we organize our instruction using time management to increase student engagement and understanding? Let's take a moment to reflect on what you do when you notice students' attention spans are dropping. Do you purposely change your pace of instruction? Or do you continue on so you can just get through the lesson? This slide includes ways to maximize student learning time. One of the most essential is to establish rules and procedures, and especially to front load practicing these, including transitions between parts of the lessons. It's critical to effectively plan and prepare for all components of the lesson, especially group activities. Have any materials prepared and try to anticipate questions or situations that may arise. Some others include to look for and buffer distractions, eliminate free time, give clear and concise directions, which is teacher clarity, have a backup plan, spend time on building classroom culture and climate, stay on task, and focus on your learning intention. The first pacing strategy we are looking at is change the pace. This was introduced in Teach Like a Champion 2.0 by Doug Lemov. In a nutshell, you can change the pace during instructional time to keep interest and attention and increase engagement. You can change the type of activity and/or the format of the activity. In just a few moments, we will see this in action. In Teach Like a Champion, they talk about using different muscle groups. They reference 5 types of activities that we can ask students to participate in. Assimilating knowledge directly from sources such as the teacher or text. Participating in guided practice or guiding questioning structured by the teacher. Executing skills without teacher support as an independent practice. Reflecting on an idea, thinking quietly and deeply. Discussing and developing ideas with classmates. They will reference these different muscle groups during the video that we are about to watch on the next slide. As you're watching the video, pay attention to how Ms. Bracey, a 5th grade reading teacher, changes the pace throughout this segment of her lesson.
Get excited because we are very quickly approaching the end of Circle of Gold. We left off at a really juicy part of the story. Who can remind us what was going on in the story? Please track Ayana.
When we last left off, someone stole Angel's new bracelet for her birthday.
Yes. Her angel's bracelet was stolen. What else? What else is going on? Track Maya.
Instead of anybody owning up to their actions, Angel accused Maddie of stealing her bracelet and hitting her, and because she was the only one in the room who saw her hide her bracelet.
Ooh, nice job. Give that 2 snaps. 2 snaps. So we're going to read to find out what's going on between both of them because Maddie and Tony are thinking 2 different things. So your books need to be open to page 87. Micah, start us off today.
The very next morning, Tony put their plan into action. When Maddie arrived at school, she saw Tony talking to Charlene, but Angel was nowhere around. Maddie stood alone watching Tony and Charlene line up to jump double dutch.
Listen, things have changed between me and Maddie. She's not my friend anymore. Tony sounded very convincing.
Pause there. Tint your books. First question. So you should be focusing on question 87 on your reading response journal for chapter 10. You have evidence in the text. Make sure you find it and write it. Please get to work. Make sure you're writing complete sentences. Your pencils need to be down by the time I get to 1, and your hands need to be in the air. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pencils down, hands up. What is the plan? Why and what does this reveal about Tony? Let's start off with Omar.
I think the plan is to act like Tony's plan is to act like she's not Maddie's friend anymore, so she can find out like who stole the bracelet, and to see if Angel is pulling a game on who stole the bracelet.
Habits of discussion, paraphrase, push it even further. Please track. Danielle.
As you saw in the video, Miss Bracy is productive in her instruction by changing the pace with different types of activities throughout the lesson. This chart details the activities and the time she spent on each. Notice how she varied the activity types: guided reading, knowledge assimilation, reflection, idea generation, and discussion to help with changing the pace and increasing student engagement.
A similar strategy that can be used is maintaining a lively pace. Instructional pace affects students' ability to pay attention to classroom activities. To maintain a lively pace, a teacher must adjust instruction and transition smoothly and quickly from one instructional activity to the next. We also saw this in the video. Ms. Bracy not only changed the pace, she also maintained a lively pace throughout the lesson. For more information on maintaining a lively pace, you can click on the underlined title on this slide to access a resource. So how do you know if it's working? Students quickly adapt to transitions and re-engage when a new activity begins. And when asked about the pace of the class, students describe it as neither too fast nor too slow. As we mentioned in the previous slide, asking your students is a great way to determine if this strategy is working. We have shared on this slide a student survey that you could use, and you could also use the teacher survey tool shown here to self-reflect on your instructional pacing to help determine if you're maintaining a lively pace. This slide provides you with some additional tips for instructional pacing. Create a sense of urgency, maybe post a timer. Make goals clear. We have a toolkit for that, Teacher Clarity. Use smooth transitions. Try to stay 2 steps ahead. Have materials ready. Organization can be fun. Instructions can be orally and visually presented. Check for understanding. Remember your opportunities to respond. Power and planning and PLC. What's the most effective type of teaching for this lesson? Hopefully this list of tips will help you in considering what will work well with your students. We've shared several things to consider when organizing the instructional time in your classroom. Take a moment and feel free to pause the video to reflect on this question, similar to the one we asked earlier. When you notice students' attention spans are dropping, what might you do? How might you change midstream or adjust your pacing to accelerate your instruction? Culturally responsive teachers realize not only the importance of academic achievement, but also that of maintaining cultural identity and heritage. Culturally responsive teachers build a classroom community through cooperative learning, differentiated instruction, peer teaching, and reciprocal teaching. To support this type of classroom community, it's important to be cognizant of your use of time and the pace you maintain during instruction. Students with exceptional needs must practice skills with a high rate of success. Scaffolded supports are used to assist students who may not be able to complete a given skill independently. Opportunities for frequent practice are needed for students with exceptional needs to become fluent in a given skill. Using the pacing strategies in this training will help you to structure your instructional time so that all students, especially ECE students, are successful. When considering project-based learning, you will need to pre-plan your use of instructional time and your pacing to ensure that your instructional strategies match your students' needs. You want to structure your time to make sure they acquire foundational knowledge, they have opportunities to apply learning to project expectations, as well as time for both independent practice and interaction with peers for collaboration and feedback. What's next? We've provided you with a tool you can use with your PLC to help you when planning for how to best use instructional time in your classroom to keep students engaged and accelerate learning. You can access the planning tool by clicking on the underlined words on this slide. Thank you for participating in this training on use of instructional time. For more information on our toolkits or other high-yield instructional practices, please visit our website. Have a great day.